at all curious about anything in America is the tongue. Those eccentric, delicate, expectant taste buds just shrivel and refuse to flower like spring blooms in frosty weather. America just hasn't the right sort of climate for taste buds. In fact, I rather suspect that they're regarded as a goddamn nuisance. Well, they interfere with the automated food intake stations, the taste buds. I mean, why complicate a simple food intake pattern of starch, carbohydrates, protein, and vitamins by allowing taste buds to reject out of hand, or rather out of mouth, a perfectly balanced wodge of cotton wool, plastic mince, and gravy? You can't have that sort of thing going on. Whatever next? I suppose that breakfast was about the best meal of the day. It was always the same, but it was bearable. You sit on a stool at a counter. The gentleman breakfast dispenser usually wears a natty little cheese-cutter cap and a white coat. It's not a bit of use being pleasant and chatty and saying, now, let me see, I wonder if it would be at all possible for you to sort of fry my eggs on both sides. Could you do that? You know, not too much, just sort of lightly done so that they don't exactly solidify, but still retain that rather pleasant, uncertain quality. If you do say that, the breakfast dispenser will treat you to a glare that burns with enough contempt to melt a hole in a knickerbocker glory. The fact is, he doesn't understand what the heck you're blabbering about. It's interesting because we are both supposed to speak English, but he doesn't get it. He will start again from the beginning. You want bacon? Okay. Yes. You want eggs? Okay. Yes. How do you want them? Well, I rather thought that if you... Look, do you want them sunny side up or over easy? Oh, yes. I see. And after a little experimentation, you find the correct code for ordering. In other words, you're dealing with a computer, and you have to feed it the abbreviated language that it understands. It's reasonable, of course, but it turns breakfast time into a sad affair when you're reminded every morning that the elaborate tapestry of words that we've woven for ourselves through the centuries can be so ruthlessly unpicked to leave us with the threadbare warp and weft of what do you want, how much, hello, and goodbye. Of course, if you're not the talkative sort, at breakfast time, it's fine. When the breakfast dispenser approaches for your order, you've got it all ready. Oh, good day, gentlemen. All righty. Tomato juice, bacon and egg, eggs over easy, coffee. And you get your complete breakfast on one plate. I must say, it takes a bit of getting used to. There is no room in the organization for side plates. No, sir, no side plates, and only one knife. There's your breakfast, bacon, 2 eggs, easy over, on the south side of the big plate. On the north side, on the perimeter, lies a wrapped pat of butter, a tiny gobbet of plastic potted jam, and a wrapped bread roll. Well, it isn't bread, it's sort of cotton wool. Your one knife and fork and spoon are presented in a sealed envelope. They're the same design in every eating place. Well, of course, it's like an awkward picnic. You crack your roll open on the counter, and it scatters flaky brown crumbs everywhere. You try to butter it with an eggy knife, and you get butter all over your bacon. The jam, of course, crawls everywhere looking for a side plate. The mess you leave behind really looks like the monkey house. The one consoling thing about breakfast, of course, is that you've got your own personalized jukebox in front of you on the counter. Nice thought, isn't it? An affair the size of a biscuit tin, and there's one for each customer. These jukeboxes are put in front of everybody to make sure there's no talking. You get stuck into your sunny side up and your over easy and choose your tune from the list. Drop a nickel in the biscuit box, dial the number you want, and it comes from some master juker in the basement. Scooby-Dooby-Doo, Scooby-Dooby-Doo. I must say that Scooby-Dooby-Doo is about the most popular tune to have for breakfast. Lots of people choose it. It does relieve the monotony a bit. But just lately, our taste buds have been blooming quite nicely. Well, here in St. Louis, Missouri, the flavors are coming back. The feeding automatons are not in control. Real people are actually smoking hams, savoring soups, and spicing cakes. The smells that float away from the kitchens are good, homely smells. We've just had a fine-flavored meal aboard the River Queen on the great Mississippi River. The River Queen is a beautiful Mississippi River paddle boat. You know the sort, like a tremendous houseboat with a long cylinder paddle at the back and a couple of tall, gay chimneys. One time of day, it was the thing to do to take a trip on a pleasure steamer like this up and down the Mississippi River. You could be away for weeks, living in luxury, with the scenery slowly changing all round you all day long. The present River Queen was built in the 1920s, a perfect replica of an old 19th century riverboat. They've copied the fixtures, furniture and fittings, and it's all been there long enough to take on the elegant atmosphere of those spacious days. It's very convincing. It is now just a restaurant, moored in the middle of St. Louis on the Mississippi River. Every now and again, the River Queen really goes to work and splashes up and down the Mississippi for one of the great film companies. She had quite a big part in Gone with the Wind, but apart from the occasional bit of freelance acting, she slops peacefully in the wash of the modern diesel barges that slide about this great waterway. St. Louis, I suppose, has the widest streets of any city in the world. They're so wide and so long that people are just lost in them, and the place seems deserted. I've never known a place so big and so mysteriously empty. Of course, we spent quite a lot of time looking up in the sky, and so we could have missed some of the passing population. Well, we were looking up at this arch that they've built. This arch. Yes, that's exactly what we said. This arch. Well, they wanted one, and why shouldn't they? You can have anything if you're prepared to pay for it, and this arch is costing millions. Well, to start with, they tore down 11 acres of buildings beside the Mississippi River. That's the place to put the arch in, you see. And then they put it in. Took them quite a long time. Well, it's quite a lot of arch, and it's plated with stainless steel. It's the size and shape of a rainbow. Yes, a rainbow. A rainbow rather pointed at the top, like the bow of a ship. It's enormous, over 600 feet high, and this is the strange thing about it. As I said, it's plated with stainless steel, so that it reflects, or rather takes on, the color of the sky around. On a grey day, it's grey. When the sky is blue, it's blue. And it goes pink in the sunset. So you see, you're never quite sure that it's there. And yet you can see it, can't you? Yes. No. It's gonna get... No. There it is. A great, ghostly rainbow. A tremendous presence. That's what it is, a presence. Now, this is something that a building does not usually achieve. The effect of making you feel horribly aware of it when you're not even looking at it. The St. Louis Arch does this. Wherever you are in the city, you have to keep looking over your shoulder, like walking the lonely road at twilight. Yes, it's there. When we first saw it, we went as close to it as we could. It wasn't quite finished then. It was fenced off. And we agreed that it was about the biggest monument to nothing that we had ever seen. It is supposed to represent the gateway to the west, which is a bit confusing because if you're coming from the other way, it's the exit to the east, but nobody mentions that. But it certainly doesn't look like the gateway to the west. It looks more like International Croquet Week or the National Steelbenders Convention, or if you must have a name for it, all that goes up must come down. But in the short time we were in St. Louis, we grew very fond of this ghostly rainbow. Soon the elevators will be working and the tourists will be able to travel inside this great rainbow and view the Mississippi River and St. Louis City in real comfort. We'd like to have stayed in St. Louis a lot longer. Well, we were enjoying our flavors again, and we were enjoying the ebony, giggly girls that served them. The one that served us our lunch yesterday was practically hysterical with laughter. I don't know what was so funny about us. Every time she approaches our table, she just falls over with laughter. Which one of your handsome gentlemen is having a steak? Oh, glory! Well, I'm actually having the steak, and what's so funny about it? Why are you laughing so? Oh, glory! Oh, I was laughing outside, but I was crying inside. Well, that's right. Laughing outside and crying inside. All right, then what are you crying about? Oh, I'm so tired. Tired? Yeah, glory, I was so tired. I done started walking here at 10 o'clock this morning, and these trays is so heavy, glory. What time do you finish? Oh, 3 o'clock. Oh, well, that's not too bad. Oh, yes, glory. These trays are so heavy. I'm so tired. At 3 o'clock, I was going right back home to my pappy, yes. Back home to your pappy? Yes, right. It's no good. She can't help laughing. Every time she passes our table, oh, glory. Laughing outside, crying inside, and moving about the hot restaurant like a badly manipulated string puppet. Her skinny arms and legs not quite under control. At 3 o'clock, she's going back home to her pappy. And just after 3 o'clock, we flew away from St. Louis to Nashville, Tennessee. Now, there's nothing remarkable about Nashville, Tennessee. Or at any rate, we weren't aware that there was anything remarkable about Nashville, Tennessee. We thought that we'd just stop there for a night and drive to the Smoky Mountains before returning to New York. We didn't know that Nashville was a great recording center. Yeah, a place where they make records of all the tortured noises that they call singing nowadays. We also did not know that at Nashville they broadcast a famous weekly radio program called Grand Ole Opry, and that this program has been running for 41 years. 41 years. So you see, quite a lot goes on in Nashville. One other very important thing that we did not know was that on the very day that we arrived in Nashville, they were holding a disc jockeys convention. No, I'm not joking. We walked right into the middle of a disc jockeys convention, and there were 2,500 of them. 2,500 disc jockeys all in a heap. I suppose you can count the number of disc jockeys we have in this country on your fingers, give or take a digit. So you get a pretty good idea of the state of American radio as a whole when you realize that 2,500 disc jockeys can be spared to come to this convention. And they're all here in Nashville today. All the boys that sport all the qualifications that go to make disc jockeys. The show-offs, the jokers, the smooth, or the smiling, the relaxed, the confident, the vital, the dynamic, the homely, the friendly, the brisk, the bright, the whispery, the shouty. They are all there with their agents, managers, wives, employers, microphones, records, and amplifiers. It's a rattling collection of tin cans in gold lame suits, white suede booties, and 6-gallon hats and electric guitars. Walking into this lot is just like walking into a mad sort of nightmare. It started when we arrived at a big hotel in Nashville. We had driven there from the airport in a big hired slob automobile. Music was yawling from a battery of loudspeakers on the corner of the street. Music, well, I found out later that it's known as country and western style, and it's very popular hereabouts, and basically all of it sounds to me like this. No, I won't go on. A little of it goes a long way. Right round the world, I'm sorry to say. Well, we unload our gear into the lobby of this very big hotel. Flash bulbs are splashing about all over the place. Smart men in white suede cowboy outfits are posing convincingly for the publicity and pressmen. Cute little dolls, spoofed up as cowgirls, showing the leg well above the garter mark and giving the old cheesecake to kind friends one and all. And everybody's wearing a great green badge in his lapel. Badge, well, it's a plaque, really. It's as big as a plaque, and inscribed on it is the name, description, and hometown of the wearer. It's exactly like the registration plate on a motor car. The gentle art of introduction is no longer necessary. You shout unashamedly to the world that you are Gradwick Blotcher of station WYKF of Twinkletown, wherever it is. We stand half bemused in the middle of this effervescent circus. I say, Tubby, where's your registration plate?
Well, I'd be ashamed to put it up with a name like Foster.
I know. And Morris would look dead ordinary.
Yeah, did you see who that was who just went by?
No, who?
Conway Twitty.
Is that a fact?
Yeah.
Not the Conway Twitty?
Yeah.
Well, I hate to tell you who I've just seen.
Who?
Well, wait a minute, I've got to be careful. Elmer Fuddpucker.
I don't believe you.
It's true. That was his name, Elmer Fuddpucker. I know people can't help their names, but a name can be very misleading when you wear it on your heart. And it says Conway Twitty. or Elmer Fudpucker, at heart you may not be a Twitty or a Fudpucker.
Say, hiya, fellas. You gotta take some pictures?
Hey, what's that? Who have we here? Ah, yes. His registration plate says he is George Cretch. Well, that's reasonable enough, and he comes from Indiana, and he spotted our tripod and thinks we're going to take some pictures. Well, we're going to take some pictures, actually, but not just now.
Hey, wait a minute. Wait a minute.
He's looking for our registration plates and can't find them. He's at a loss. He doesn't know what to do. It's terrible. He's on the point of banging me on the back and shrieking out,
"Well, what do you know? How are you, Johnny Morris, Bristol, England? You son of a gun. How you been, huh?"
But without my registration plate, I'm just a little lump in a tweed hat.
Say, who are you? What company do you represent? Where you from?
Well, the BBC, Bristol, England.
The goddamn BBC. Goddamn Bristol. Goddamn England. Well, come on in. The pot is swinging. Come on in.
He leads us to a doorway of an enormous ballroom.
Say, Jim, the goddamn BBC, goddamn Bristol, goddamn England.
Hiya, fellas. Hiya. Hiya. There's no doubting the genuine friendliness of these disc jockeys.
Say, what size hat do you wear?
Hat? Hat? What size hat?
Yeah, what size hat?
Well, it's 6 3/4 or 7 or something. Why?
Okay, partner. Have fun.
He plonks a 6-gallon cowboy hat on my head. He plonks 6-gallon cowboy hats on all our heads. They really are very beautiful felt hats. The real thing. Off-white, take it easy, 6-gallon hats. But these aren't our hats.
They are now. Go on. Have fun. Yeah. Come on, fellas. Come on.
I must say that secretly I've always wanted to wear one of these great 6-galloners. And I must also say that a 6-gallon hat is just about the biggest morale booster that a man can crown himself with. The easy confidence that blossoms inside you when you put on a rough-riding off-white 6-gallon hat is really astonishing. Look in the mirror there at the four of us. Ho-ho! We just look like that sharpshooting bunch from the Lazy Bar X Ranch. Sure to be a heap of trouble when we come into town. We roll into the ballroom. It's an incredible sight. The ballroom isn't being used for dancing tonight. It's just one gigantic bar, and in it there are about 3,000 disc jockeys, all wearing real felt, off-white, 6-gallon hats. The air is blue with cigar smoke, and the clamour is just like the monkey house when the monkeys have been upset. Everybody's standing up, those that can. There are a few chairs around the wall for those that have had a hard day. George Cretch drags us over to the counter.
Hey, come on, scotch on the rocks for everyone. Scotch on the rocks.
Look, let me do this.
Ah, shut up. It's all free. It's all free. It's all on the Cacophone Recording Company. All free on the Cacophone Recording Company.
Phew, no wonder everyone's so free and easy.
Okay, fellas, mud in your eye. Good luck to the Cacophone Records.
George Cretch hands us all a tremendous measure of best Scotch whiskey in paper cups. He notices the slight dismay on my face.
Hey, what's the matter? Don't you like Scotch?
Oh, yes, I like it very much. I was thinking, quite honestly, of all those canny master magicians of Speyside who distill this precious water of life with such loving care. If only they knew.
Okay, bottoms up, fellas.
George Cretch empties his paper cup down his throat.
Wow.
Yeah. And hands it back to the bartender.
Okay, fill 'em up again. Come on, fellas. We're having us a ball with the Cacophone Recording Company.
In the hard and crafty drinking world, George Cretch is what is known as a front runner. He sets a tremendous pace. We follow him as best as we can for several laps, but we're not fast enough for him, and we lose sight of him. When he disappeared, I had 2 paper cups full to the brim, one in each hand, and I was talking to a 6'3" cowboy in a gold lame suit. He was holding up a cowgirl, whom he said was pretty tired. Her head kept flopping forward, and her hat wouldn't stay on. In fact, The law of gravity was beginning to assert itself all over. All sorts of stuff was falling down. The floor was littered with paper cups and cigar butts and 6-gallon hats. And some of the 6-gallon hats had still got cowboys in them. It was time to go. I remember picking my way through the mellow muddle and confusion and looking back through the thick blue smoke at all those nodding, wobbling, white 6-gallon hats. We all wore our 6-galloners next day in Nashville. Well, the other 3,000 wore theirs, and we sank deep into our sponge car automobile, waved goodbye to all the other 6-gallon hats, and drove out of town, up into the Smoky Mountains. As mountains go, the Smoky Mountains don't go very high, which is very fortunate because the trees grow all over them. Those wonderful, magnificent trees. It's getting towards the end of October, and they're still on fire. Red maple, silver maple, black maple, sugar maple, the mulberries, chestnuts, hickories, aspens, all quivering, flickering, and falling, showering sparks of colour into the tumbling, bubbling rivers, settling soft and warm on the forest floor, where the black bears scuffle and then come scrounging down to the wayside dustbins. Oh yes, we saw several black bears in the Smokies. They're smallish bears and not aggressive. They just like to be left alone and are quite happy as long as we leave them alone and keep the dustbins nicely topped up. Yes, there are still some black bears left in the Smokies. There are still some red Indians left there too. We saw our first one when we drove into Cherokee. We came around a sharp bend into the town, and there he was on the corner, in his full, astonishing regalia. A feathered headdress growing out of his magnificent head, trailing beautifully right down to the ground. The moment you see him, you say it, you can't help it. You say, "How?" And you stop the car and get out. That's what you're meant to do, because he stands outside the trading post, which is a souvenir shop. We saw him later that day when he'd finished work, in a restaurant, without his display kit, just wearing jeans and a shirt, and eating a beef burger and beans. It was a sad picture. But he's one of the luckier ones who supply the tourist with his souvenirs, the ones who are organized and trained to make moccasins and jackets and knives and bullwhips and traditional jewelry for sale at the trading posts. The unlucky ones are the ones who just can't cope, cannot change, and despair. The speed at which our civilization has overtaken them has completely defeated them in more ways than one. Some of them manage a few months' work at Frontierland. Frontierland is a few miles down the road from Cherokee, and I suppose that you'd call it an outdoor animated museum. It's quite astonishing. You drive up to a real high-noon sort of railway station. You pay your money, and you get aboard a real old Chattanooga choo-choo, one of the original iron horse engines, with a cowcatcher and a woo-woo whistle and a clanging brass bell. Bang, 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 bang. Woo! Here we go, past an Indian village with wigwams and real Indians, and we get out 5 minutes later at a real old frontier town. There's a saloon with real girls giving the old leg show, a jail, a sheriff's office, a bank, shops, a blacksmith's, a wheelwright's, a school, a church, a barber's shop, covered wagons, hitching rails, everything exactly as it used to be 60 or 70 years ago. And then every hour on the hour, there's a gunfight. You get up on the stockade out of the way as the baddies ride into town. And then for 5 minutes, all hell is let loose. I must say they do it very well. Shots come from everywhere. Chaps fall off balconies, out of windows, off horses. Look at that fellow running for his horse. Got him. He does an agonized somersault and really bites the dust. And that's that. Then you wander over to the Indian village, amongst the teepees and the squaws and the braves, and they put on a pretty convincing ritual dance for you. It's all extremely well done. It's all exactly as we've seen it on the films, and it's all sadly ironical to watch these Red Indians act out day after day, every hour, for our entertainment, a bit of the past that we took away from them. And that is the end of the entertainment for today. Frontierland will be open again at 9 o'clock tomorrow. You can quite easily spend a whole day at Frontierland looking at America as it used to be. Well, that's very nice, because tomorrow we shall be seeing America as it is now, once again. We're flying back to New York. That'll be quite nice. And staying at the old Scarsby Hotel again, the big singing hotel. That'll be quite nice. And listening to the Cats and Gibbons again. Well, that's not too bad. And then getting on that slashing helicopter and chopping around Manhattan to Kennedy Airport. Now that will be nice. And then flying off across the Atlantic back home. And that'll be nice. Yeah, that'll be very nice.